Hello and welcome to our video on Google Calendar. My name is Caryn Kelly and I'm one of the consultants at SOITA, a state ed tech agency in Ohio. If you have any questions about this program following the video, please feel free to email me at Caryn, C-A-R-Y-N, @soita.org, and I'd be happy to answer all of your Google Calendar questions. If you are planning on getting a certificate of participation for this video, please head over to ohioedtechs.org, fill out the form provided, and you'll need to provide the title of this video as well as this code, GCAL, G-C-A-L, all caps. Make sure you type your email in, and then once you've submitted that form, you should receive a certificate of participation at that email shortly. All right, let me leave that up for another second. And let's head over to Google Calendar. So you can go to calendar.google.com, or if you are on one of your Google pages and you have an app launcher right here, you can go straight to Calendar. All right. So I have, let me delete some stuff from earlier. There we go. Okay. So when you come into Calendar, know that you have a calendar by default. That's the primary calendar for your account. You can make as many calendars as you want, but that one's always going to be the primary one for your account, okay? A lot of people that have multiple calendars or share calendars will make those multiple calendars for those shared events, and then they will keep that primary calendar kind of separate and only share it with a couple people. And then another thing that a lot of people like to do is have their personal calendar in their personal account and their work calendar in their work account, and that's just really good practice. So I have all my personal stuff, you know, swim lessons and doctor's appointments and things like that in my personal calendar, and my work one's totally separate, so my work people don't have to see that, okay? So that's something to think about. So when you come in here, this is what it's going to look like. I'm in month view. That's where I like to live. I'm kind of a nut. It's overwhelming for a lot of people. There are lots of different views that you can choose from, and then you can choose which one you want to be the default. So when you come in, it's always in your preferred view. So right now I'm in month. If I wanted to just see today's in a schedule view, you can type A for agenda or schedule. All right. Here they are right here in the drop down. So A for agenda or schedule, Y for year, M for month, W for week, D for day. That's super easy. And then you can type the number 4 or an X for a 4-day. So X for 4-day and 4 for 4-day. Both of those work. Your custom view can be set in your settings, all right? So I'm going to come up here to the gear, go into settings. These are my general settings for all my calendars, okay? So you can do language and region, time, event settings, view options, all right? Show weekends, show week numbers, what day to start your week on, and you can set your custom view there, okay? So it's my custom view is 4 days. If I wanted to, I could make it 2 weeks, whatever you want, all right? You're able to set your working hours in here. If you set working hours, when people, when people invite you to events that are outside your working hours, they'll get kind of a little notification or warning. You can choose here if you want to automatically add events when people invite you, if you want to automatically add them to your calendar, and you can do a couple other things in here. You're also able to add more calendars. So you can add a coworker's calendar, only if they've set it up so you can access it. You can create a new calendar from here if you wanted to make a brand new calendar. You can also browse resources. Resource calendars are created by your domain admin, and what those are, you'll see them called rooms when you're making an event. Those are for things like a computer lab, a laptop cart, the conference room, things you're wanting to reserve. You can add those calendars to see the availability Otherwise, you won't be able to see if they're available or not. You're not going to be able to schedule on those. So when your domain admin adds those, you'll be able to put them in so you can see them and see if they're available. All right. You can also browse calendars of interest here. So those are holiday calendars, and then they also have sports, professional sports, and also collegiate sports that you can add here. So you can add your favorite teams, and then the games will all be in there for you. All right. You can also view settings for individual calendars. So all of those settings up there were for calendars overall. You can also view the settings for your individual calendars here. So this is my primary calendar. There's its name. You can add a description. You have your permissions. I've made mine public because I share it with people and I put it on websites and things like that. So it's public. But a lot of people will not do that, and they'll choose to share it with specific people instead. When you share your calendar with someone, you just click Add People, and then you set what permission you want. So see only free, busy, they won't see what you're doing. They'll just see that you're free or busy. See all event details. They'll be able to see the date and time and what your event is. Make changes. They'll be able to change it. And make changes and manage sharing. They'll be able to change your event. They'll be able to delete events, and they'll be able to add other people to that calendar. In general, for your primary calendar within an account, I would just make changes to events or see all event details. I don't really make changes and manage sharing to I don't give those permissions to my default calendar. Now, if I made a calendar that was for like off-site in-services, I might share that with a bunch of people. They've probably got 3 or 4 people that need to be able to make changes and manage sharing and add events and things like that to that calendar. But for my default calendar, if I'm sharing with other people, I'm either going to do see all event details or make changes to events. The only exception to that for me is that I have shared this with my personal account to make changes and manage sharing. And what that allows me to do is if I'm in my work account, I can add content to my personal calendar because I've done the same thing with my personal calendar. And if I'm in my personal calendar, I can add content to my work calendar so that it doesn't matter which window I'm in, I can still add stuff to my calendar. You just have to be really careful when you do that, that you are cognizant and aware of what calendar you're adding stuff to. Okay, every once in a while people will know when I'm getting a haircut or something like that. You can set up what sort of notifications you want to get for events. I have a lot of events, so I've turned notifications off, and you'll see when I go in and make an event, I will be able to add a notification if I want to do that. And then there's just some other notification settings and things like that. You also have the information here if you needed to embed a calendar, but most people don't need to worry about that. Okay? All right. I'm going to get out of here, out of settings. I'm going to go back into month view. So that's where I like to be. All right. And I just want you to see here, I changed my, I changed my customized view to 2 weeks. So now it says 2 weeks instead of 4 days here. So X is always going to take you to that custom view. Okay. All right, we'll just sit here for a little bit. There's a little less going on here in this little 2-week view. All right. You also, so I've got my main calendar here. I've got my list of calendars here. There's my calendars. That's everything that I've created. Those are all my Google Classroom calendars that are generated when I create a new class. There's also the calendars that I can see event details and make changes and manage sharing. I have a lot of those because I'm an admin, but you probably won't have as many. And then beneath that, let me collapse this, I have other calendars. These are calendars that people have shared with me that maybe I don't have those same permissions, okay? Or if you've added a sports team, I have like a Dayton Flyers calendar here so I know when games are. Those will be there down under other calendars. And if you wanted to quickly add another calendar, not create, add another calendar, like another sports calendar or something, you can click the plus sign there and choose from those options, okay? Now in my calendars, I have all my calendars here. You can see that some have the box checked, so it's colored, and some are empty boxes. The ones that are checked are the ones that's on. So I've got two, actually I've got three on right now. So I have tasks on. If I turn tasks also off, I'll just have two. So right now I'm just seeing these two. If I turn on Deb's, I have more content added. You saw the purple come in, okay? So sometimes I'll have people say, so-and-so shared their calendar with me, but I can't see anything they're adding, and a lot of times it's because this is turned off. Okay, so make sure that you're viewing any of the calendars you want to see. It's also nice to like clear things out. You just have to remember that when you've turned off a calendar, you'll need to turn it back on eventually if you want to see what's going on, because there could be all kinds of things being added to that calendar without your realizing. Okay, all right. Over here, this little guide, this is called your mini calendar. You can quickly navigate ahead to other months. If someone's asking me what I'm doing the first week of June, I can just highlight and it will show me just those days, which is a really nice feature. Okay, so let's start talking about creating events. You've got two different ways that you can create events in here. All right, you can click the Create button and start adding an event. Let's say Lunch with Jack. 12:30 to 1:30, that sounds good. I can add guests. I'm going to add my other self because I don't want to bother anybody with my random invites right now, okay? And then if you wanted to, you could add a room. So if we're having lunch in the conference room, I can click Add Rooms. Put a room in there. You can add a location. You can put a description in here, and you can even add links, all right? So those are just like the bare bones options in here. I also, once you add a guest, you can see guest availability and suggested times. You can see guest availability if you have access to their calendar. So if I click that, it's going to pop out. It's going to say, hey, here's when everyone's available. It puts your calendars up together. Or if you do suggested times, it just gives you a list of suggested times. All right. You won't see availability. You won't see their calendar if you don't have access to it. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you wanted all of the options for creating your event, you're going to go down here to create or click More Options. There we go. And now this is like the full-fledged editor. So this is where I can say I want to do a repeating event. If you wanted to add conferencing, so to add a Hangouts Meet, that's really nice. And I think that's the best way to schedule Hangouts meetings, because then you can go ahead and click the calendar invite other people to it. It's going to show up on their calendar, and when you do that, it goes ahead and it generates the link for the meeting. So it takes care of all of that for you. You can add a notification. So if you had a default notification set in your settings, remember I turned all mine off, that would be here, but then you can add more notifications, and you can also layer notifications. So if you have an event that you're like, I am going to forget when this is, or I'm going to totally, forget that this is coming up, you can say notify me a week before, a day before, an hour before. You can layer those if you're really worried about it. Down here is where you choose what calendar to put it on. So if it needs to go on a different calendar, you can do that here. And you can also choose the color. And I'll show you in a minute when we get out of here how to make your calendars different colors. But sometimes you want an event to stand out a little bit more on your calendar, so you can make a single event a different color. And then you can choose if you're busy or free during that time. So like when I was in the library, I might have book fair on my calendar, but I'm not actually busy that whole week with book fair. Maybe I've got other people helping me, and I'm still available for other events, other invites. So I can mark myself free during an event that I add. Okay. You can also make a specific event private. So I've made my calendar public, but I could make an event private. The only exception is that those people that have the ability to make changes and managed sharing. You're still going to be able to see even your private events, okay? Now, down here, this is where I could add a description, and we saw that in the previous pane, but something that they've added when we went into more options is the ability to attach something. So that's going to pull up your drive. You can also upload from your computer if you needed to upload instead. All right, and I think we're good to go. Send invites. Yep, invite. It's warning me. You're inviting somebody outside your domain. Now this is really nice. So I attached a file and I didn't set up the sharing settings with it, and the person that's invited to this event doesn't have access to that file normally. So it's saying, hey, you need to give them access. I can say I'm going to share this with them, view, or I could turn on link sharing so anyone with a link can view. So if I added more people to my event later, they would automatically have access. And I'm going to invite. They've thought of everything, haven't they? Okay. So if you wanted to create an event, you can click the create. You can do a single click on a day and pull up the same thing that you would get with create. Or what I like to do is double click on a day, and that opens up the whole big thing, because a lot of times I'm inviting other people and putting a description in. If I'm going to need all of those options, I'm just going to go ahead and double click and open that up. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about choosing the color for your calendar and then what events look like if they're all day versus whether they have a time. So to choose your calendar color, you're going to go over and hover over your calendar name, go to the three dots, which means there's a menu, and then you can choose the color. And you can even do a custom color. Okay. Ooh. You can modify your custom color. Here we go. All right. So you can kind of play with that a little bit. Your all-day events are going to be the ones that are presented as a block of color, whereas your events that have times tied to them are going to have the little dot of color. And you might see here that I have an event that has a dot, but it's not filled in. That means it's an event that I've been invited to, but I haven't responded yet. So if I click on that, I can say yes or no. Okay. Now all of these events up here that are shaded out, kind of washed out, those are past events, and that's what's going to happen when an event is past. Well, let's talk about some other event types that we can create. When you click on a day, you can create an event. You can also set up that you're out of office, or you can create appointment slots if you are a G Suite for Education school or have a G Suite for Education account. So you won't see these on your personal account, but I've clicked on my day here, and you have to, no, you don't have to be in day or week view anymore, okay? So you just click on the day and you'll say appointment slots and choose the time frame. So I'm going to say today from, not AM, 2 to 4, and I'm going to do 20-minute slots, and, or you could do a single slot too, you can do that. I'm going to hit save, and it's got a little grid there. I didn't give it a title. Good job, me. So I'm going to double click on it to edit it, and I'm going to say conferences, and I have here this calendar's appointments page. I'm going to hit save. This is the link that I would share with people so that they can access this, and they would be able to come in, click, and reserve some time. Apparently I did a really big block of time. So people use this for conferences. People use this when they do checkout at the end of the year to sign up for a meeting. I'm going to delete this and get rid of it, okay? One thing you need to know about appointment slots is that the people making appointments do have to have a Google account. So if you're using it with parents, you might have to give them instructions. Say, if you don't have a personal Google account, you can have your student log into their account and make an appointment through their account, that sort of thing. All right. Now, you probably saw me earlier turn off my tasks calendar. So your tasks can be accessed over here, and you can create, that's that little icon there. You can create tasks right here. I've got multiple lists so you can organize your tasks. And you'll click Add Task, and I'll say Record Ed Tech Videos. And you can add a date and time. All right, so I added that. Okay. But I don't see it over here. Okay. And when I click to create an event, tasks isn't an option. So if you want to see your tasks on your calendar, or you want to be able to create tasks from your calendar, you have to make sure that over here on the side, that tasks is turned on. And now I see that. Okay. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you select task, so I click to create an event, edit calendar video, and I choose task. If you want to add a time, you have to uncheck all day. Okay? And then you can choose what list you want it on. If you want to create a recurring or repeating event, or task rather, that option's not available in here. Let me put the time in here. All right. So the only way you can do repeating events is if you create it over here in this little pop-out sidebar for your tasks, okay? And if you really like those tasks, there's also a tasks app that you can get for your mobile device, so you can just get your lists of tasks. If you're a checklist person, you really like that. All right. Okay. So we've created events. We've invited other people to events. We've looked at our settings and our sharing calendars. I think that we have covered all of the basics of calendar. Oh, that's another good one there. This little menu, it looks like a menu. It's actually just to hide that sidebar if you need your calendar bigger. Also, if you needed to ever print your calendar, that's up here in the gear. All right, print. And you can kind of customize if you want it black and white, if you want to hide events you've declined, if you need the font bigger, etc. And whatever view you're in, when you choose print, that's the view it will print. Okay? All right. Well, I think that's probably enough calendar basics. We went over a lot. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, or if I didn't talk about something you were hoping I was going to mention, please feel free to email me at Caryn, CARYN@SOITA.org, and I'd be happy to answer any and all of your Google Calendar questions. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next video.